Alright, so I'm going to try and make this video, and I'm just randomly drawing. I don't normally make videos like this, but for some reason I just don't feel right about this whole situation. So, I was hired to work at USCellular. I'm not even going to hold the company name, I'll tell you, it was USCellular. And, I thought everything was going good. Doing training, things like that. Everything seemed to be going good. The supervisors were pretty awesome. And, it all started. It all started with my first absence. Let's just start right there. Okay, so training went good. I did all my online training. Got that all out of the way. I thought it was kind of weird that every time that I was done with the training, I was kind of having to look for people to find out what I needed to do, but I didn't really think too much about it. In hindsight, maybe that should have been an indication um, of something just not being right. And so my first absence was due to a snowstorm. See, it was month 2, I believe, and they scheduled me for a training down in the Portland area. And just to give you some information about the Portland area, it's about 4 or 5 hour drive down there. So what I was going to do, because we only have one vehicle, what I was going to do is just rent a vehicle and go down to the Portland area. So I called Enterprise Rent a Car, which they were pretty awesome, and I managed to, set up an appointment to get the vehicle for that training. Come that day, there was a snowstorm, and I ended up getting stuck in the driveway. It was like 2 days worth of snow that we got up here in Maine, and it was pretty bad. So when the snowstorm happened, and I realized I couldn't get out of my driveway, I immediately contacted my supervisor, and this was hours before my shift even started. I just wanted to give him a heads up because it really didn't seem like my plow guy was gonna be showing up anytime soon. So I kind of wanted to give him the heads up just in case I was late or anything like that. That way he's in the know. And, I told him we were in constant communication way before my shift started. It got to the point where finally I had to shovel the entire driveway. And just to get out. So I contact my supervisor and tell him that I'm finally out, and that I'm heading into work. And he said, yes, you should come into work. So I was like, okay. So I went to get into the car, and then I get another text message from my supervisor saying that I should stay home because of the inclement weather. The roads were really bad. I felt bad for the people that were already at work that had to drive hours in order to get home in that mess. But he did tell me to stay home because of the inclement weather, and I did. Not thinking anything about it. So I go to work the next time, and of course I was not able to get the vehicle from Enterprise because they had to close their business early because of the weather. So I explained that to my boss as well, and my boss basically wanted to see if he can get me a ride with someone. So he tried asking a different employee that was going down for the training if I can ride with them, and the employee said, well, from what my supervisor told me, said that he was getting up way too early and he didn't have enough time to come and pick me up at a agreed upon location. And we didn't say any location just yet, but I did tell him that I would find a way to get to a certain location that worked better for that employee, so that I can meet up with him and not throw him completely off track. But wasn't able to go there, so I missed a training. My boss had me reschedule for the training, and as I'm looking at the schedules for the training, I realized that they had canceled training and they were rescheduling it because of the snowstorm. So that kind of made me feel good. I was like, yes, I didn't miss anything, because they rescheduled it anyway, and that would have been one heck of a ride, having to travel down to Portland. Again, it's like 4 or 5 hour drive in that weather. So that would have been really bad. But I didn't think anything about that either. So, I went about my day. During that month, I was told by my supervisor to give my my sales to my team, my coworkers, because I had guaranteed commissions and they did not. So of course I did not have a problem with this. We worked in the mall, and if you're from this area, you know that the mall has very little traffic, and that is not good for a sales position, which is probably one of the reasons why so many companies are leaving the mall right now. But nonetheless, I didn't hesitate. I started giving my sales away to the employees, and if I wasn't bringing the customer over to the employee, they were signing in at my computer with their username and password, so that they get the credit for the sale that I was finishing. The only time that I ever did sign in to my name is if people were way too busy on with other customers, and somebody came in to do something simple like a bill pay or something like that. Then I would definitely sign in and help them out. But most of the time, I was just signed in to someone else's username and password. I didn't think anything about that until I get pulled into the office and I get talked to about my performance. My store manager basically told me that my performance was not where it should be, given the amount of time that I was there, and that it needed to get better. And I asked him, I was like, my performance, how would you gauge that? Because my username and password were never signed into whenever making sales or anything like that. I didn't get a straight answer. I just got a generic, this is what we see answer, which is also difficult because that manager was hardly ever at the store. I think he started showing up more at the store towards the end of my employment with them. And that's because he became the store manager. The old store manager, he was really cool. He would give me tips and tricks and things to do, and I would definitely utilize that. And it actually helped. Like, he was a really cool guy. Again, I didn't know these people very long, so it's not like I was like best friends with any of them or anything like that. But I had this sense of like they didn't want me to work there anymore. I remember the store manager telling me that his exact words were, "We hired you because we thought you were going to be a good fit for this company." So in that wording, I felt, this isn't what everybody else is going to feel, but this is how I felt. I felt like they lost confidence in me. And I didn't understand why the confidence was gone when I was doing everything that they asked me to do. Now, mind you, I have anxiety, PTSD, panic, I suffer from this stuff, and I have suffered from it for a very long time, since I believe I was 9. It's been a long time, and I'm still working through it. I take a lot of medication for it, and one of the reason why I bring that up is because one of the things that I was told was not meeting my supervisor halfway when it came to role playing and training, and I didn't understand this because when we did role playing, yes, I started to panic and I let my supervisor know about my disability, and I was given a short break so I can go outside and just breathe and um, gather myself and then come back and tackle it, which I did. I did that, and I was so proud of myself. That's one of the things that has been very difficult for me when it comes to any job or any situation. Like, it's even hard for me to go grocery shopping without panicking. It's pretty pathetic, and it angers me, and even talking right now is causing some anxiety because I keep remembering the situation. But anyways, I'm being told that that was one of the reasons, or one of the situations about my performance and not performing well, which I didn't understand because, like I said, I did good. I think I did good. But according to them, I was non-compliant. So, fast forward to the next month. Okay, so next month, what happens is, of course, I now know that they expect me to be doing well in sales and not sharing my sales with anybody. And they're, trying to track my performance. So I said, you know what? I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to do good, and I'm going to show them that, they were wrong about, losing confidence in me. So that's what I did. And I used this tool that would, show how you're pacing that month or how your performance is going. And I was doing pretty good, actually. Fast forward to the last day that I was there, I looked at my tool and I saw that I was pacing to make my goal, and that made me feel really, really good. After doing a few sales, I passed the time where I should have been taking my lunch, so I asked if I can go to lunch. I was told yes, and so I got some pizza and went out back, and was just hanging out in the back office, which is tiny. It's like a walk-in closet, if that. I've seen walk-in closets bigger than it. And was sitting there, and my sales manager came in, and he was just hanging out, and I was like, do you want your seat? Because he had like a small, tiny little desk crammed in there, and I was sitting at it while I was eating. And he said, no, that's fine. And so I finished having my slice of pizza, and I was putting on my coat so that I can go outside. And I was asked to stay there before I go because my store manager wanted to talk to me. So jokingly, I said, what did I do now? And I was told, nothing, don't worry about it. We just wanted to catch up with you. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Now, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, sweet. This is when they're going to tell me that my sales were great, and that that I am showing that I know what I'm doing. I was feeling pretty pumped, positive about everything. To my surprise, I was handed a couple of pieces of paper, and they wanted to go over my 90-day review, which wasn't my 90-day review yet. It wasn't time for that. But from what they tell me, they wanted to do it because nobody was going to be there once my review actually was done, which I thought was kind of weird, but whatever. As they're talking to me, they're saying they're bringing up negative performance over and over again, and I just didn't understand it. I was like, what's going on? So I'm starting to panic now. My heart's racing. The back of my neck is hot. I'm feeling confined now. Mind you, this office is like tiny, and when I say tiny, it's tiny. Like, um, think of a regular chair, and then put it in a line. Take like 4 chairs, put them in a line, and that's the length and the size of that office when it comes to walking space. There's 3 of us in there, and 2 of us don't fit there comfortably, let alone 3, and there was 3 of us in there. When I'm looking through the paperwork, I realized that at the end of the paperwork it says that um, they were terminating me, and this just made my heart drop. Like, I was in full panic, and my hands started shaking. I was getting sweaty. I can't even remember half the things that happened. One thing that I do remember, because it still bothers me to this day, is I asked to leave. I said, "Can I just go now?" And the store manager said no, and they were both standing in front of the door, so I couldn't get to the door. And I said it a couple of times, and they kept saying, "No, no, no, we have to go through this." And I said, "I understand what's happening. Please let me just go." And they would not let me go. They held me there. So, hang on. So, they kept me there, and I I had no choice but to let them finish. So they finished. They got to the end, and I said, "Okay, now let me leave." So I pushed through them, and I grabbed my book bag, and I grabbed my coat, and I left. And I turned around and I reminded them about my disability, and I said, "You guys just ignored my disability, and now I'm having a really hard time and may not be able to drive," which I wasn't able to drive. But luckily, I had my medicine in my bag, and I took my medicine when I got to my car, and I just gave myself some time before I started driving, and I calmed down. And right now, you're probably hearing me, and I'm taking deep breaths, and I'm talking pretty fast, and that's just because my anxiety is going. I'm remembering what happened brings a sense of panic to me, and I just don't know what to do. I reached out to HR and I explained to them what the situation was. They said that they were going to do an investigation, and this was last week that this started. And today I get an email, and I'll read it to you actually. Hold on a second. I will read this email because I just don't feel right about it. I really don't. So the last email that I got from HR said, "Thank you again for your patience as we reviewed your claims, and again, thank you for reaching out to me with your concerns. At this time, we have completed our extensive review. I am notifying you that with the completion of our investigation, we have closed this matter." So I was like, "Okay, so you closed the matter, like what? So what's going on?" And this is what I replied to them, and I don't have a problem reading it to you. I said, or what if anything is going to happen? What information in regards to my issue do you have for me? The next email stated, "There is no further information or communication to share with you regarding this matter." Is that right? I mean, I don't know if I'm going crazy, but the whole situation, I'm not one to like make a big stink from things, but I just don't feel right. I don't know if this is correct. I don't know if this is legal. I don't know if I was treated fairly. I don't know what's going on. And I can't believe that this is just going to happen and nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to do anything. Like, how am I supposed to know that anything happened? How am I supposed to trust somebody that didn't trust me? Like, I just don't understand it. So I'm making this video and I'm putting it out there, and I really, I'm tired of keeping my mouth shut. I've been dealing with PTSD and anxiety and panic my entire life, and things, simple things like going to the store or going grocery shopping or going shopping for clothes are very, very difficult for me. They've been very, very difficult for me. Um, and for me to push through half of the things that I did in that store, and not keep it a secret that I have this disability. I've told them from the beginning, and I even, a lot of people don't identify themselves as a person with disabilities, but I even identified myself, knowing that I had that choice to identify myself or not to identify myself. I chose to identify myself. And what happened, I just feel, is not only is it horrible, but it's not right. Something is not right about it. I don't know. I don't know. Normally, I take responsibility for anything that I did, but in this situation, the only responsibility that I can say that was completely my fault is being late for work. I was late for work one day, 12 minutes, because I read my schedule wrong. I looked at the schedule. The schedule before that said 11:30. The schedule that I was late for said 1 o'clock. So I left here thinking it was 1:30. So I left here to get there by 1:30. Actually, 15 before 1:30. And as soon as I realized my mistake, I darted to work and I contacted my supervisor and I let him know what the situation was and that I was definitely, I was on my way. I made it there in 12 minutes. It usually takes 15 minutes to get here, to get there from here. 15 with no traffic, mind you. And I made it in 12. That's the only thing that I can take responsibility for. I messed up. I read that schedule wrong. It was my fault. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just going crazy, if it's just me, but I just don't feel that this is right. And I'm putting this video out there. I'm tired of keeping my mouth shut. This is not the first time that this has happened to me. And it's just not right. I don't know. Share this video if you guys have experienced this. Share this video if you guys know what I'm talking about. Just share it, put it out there, make sure everybody understands what happened here. I'm tired of not having a voice. Put it out there. Please put it out there. Thank you.